Madam President.
The junior senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to say a couple of words about a couple of friends. I really miss Mike Enzi. I'm referring, of course, to Senator Mike Enzi, our colleague who served the people of Wyoming and the people of America for 24 years in this body. We lost him a couple of months ago. I tried to get out to his beautiful state to say goodbye, and I couldn't rearrange things. And I miss him. I was thinking about Mike this morning. I had a meeting over here early, not too early, but about 8 o'clock, and I walked from my little overpriced Capitol Hill apartment through the park to the Capitol. The park I'm talking about is just east of the Capitol, and Mike would always walk through the park. When he would come to vote, not always, but many times he'd leave his office and get his exercise and enjoy God's beautiful day by walking through the park. I walked with him a couple of times. Mike was so many things, but if I had to describe him in 3 words, it would be decent, smart, and one of the best fishermen I've ever known. I want to talk about the decent part and what Mike Enzi meant to me. I mean, I could talk about his background and the fact that he was a giant among senators and how everybody respected him, but everybody knows that. When I first got here, I think all new senators feel this way. This is the members of this body are very, very smart, and they're very, very driven. And at least for me, when I first got here, it was a very intimidating place. And I think that's true for most senators. I think if you ask all 100 senators what it was like their first month here, 99 of them would tell you that they were intimidated. The 100th would be lying, because this is an intimidating place. But, you know, Mike went out of his way, I remember. I guess he could tell I was insecure, to reassure me. And, you know, every few weeks I'd see him in the cloakroom, or I'd see him in committee, and he'd say, Kennedy, you know, you're making a real contribution to this group. Well, of course I wasn't. But it made me feel so good and so more sure of myself. And it also made me realize, when I reflect back on it, what a decent thing it was for Mike to do. I mean, he'd been here 24 years. He had his pick of chairmanship. I mean, he really was a giant in this body. And I was green as a gourd, brand new. And he didn't have to do that. But he did. And I never told him how much that meant to me. And I really regret not telling him that now. And I feel so bad for Diana, just the most wonderful person in the world. I don't know Mike's children, Amy, Emily, and Brad, but I have a feeling, knowing that they're the children of Mike Enzi and Diana, that they're 3 wonderful Americans. And I just wanted to say that. I was thinking about Mike today. I miss him. Number 2, we have an organization in Louisiana called the Public Affairs Research Council. It is one of our premier think tanks. It's an independent group. They're not political. They do serious research, and they offer very serious suggestions about how we in Louisiana can solve some of our social and economic problems. I don't know how long, we call it PAR, Public Affairs Research Council. I don't know how long PAR has been around, as long as I've been in government, which is the late 80s, and it was there way before I came. I didn't have time to look up when it was founded, but I think it's pretty much 2 years older than dirt. It's just been there. It's an institution in Louisiana. It's privately funded. People who care about our state contribute money to do PAR's work. I religiously read all of PAR's white papers and research papers. Everybody I know who cares about my state takes their suggestions seriously. And to be the director or the president of PAR it's quite an honor. It's a lot of work and it's a big deal. And our president of PAR is retiring. He's a friend of mine. His name is Robert Travis Scott. And I wanted to say a word about Robert. Robert's graduate of the University of South Carolina with honors, graduate of Johns Hopkins. He's done it all. I first met and Robert has been president of PAR since 2011. But before that, he was the Capitol Bureau Chief for our Times-Picayune newspaper in New Orleans. And that's how I got to know him. Robert was never an agenda journalist. And we know that those journalists, particularly in the print media, exist. They exist in electronic media. I couldn't tell you today what Robert's politics are. I don't even know what party he's in. I don't know if he's in a party. He was always, when he was a reporter, a straight shooter. Called it like he saw it, played it straight down the middle. If he thought he ought to bust you upside the head because you did something dumb in public service, he would do it. But he didn't do it just in a gratuitous way. And so it was no surprise to me when PAR asked Robert to take over running the Public Affairs Research Council. And he did that. He's done it since 2011, 10 years, and they have, Robert and PAR have contributed so much to my state. His replacement is going to be a gentleman by the name of Dr. Steve Procopio, who I know as well. Steve's going to do a great job, but we're going to miss Robert. I hope he doesn't go far. And I just wanted to come say a word about my good friend, Robert Travis Scott. Now, let me say one final word on a timely topic here. As you know, our body is going to soon be considering, I think, some changes to our tax code. We don't know exactly what they are. I just want to strongly encourage my colleagues and my friends, because I like everybody in this body. If we're going to make changes to our tax code, to make those changes on the basis of sound economic principles. Don't make them on the basis of class warfare. Some of the proponents of some of the changes that I have seen discussed in the media, in my opinion, don't understand the complexity of the American economy. They just don't. They think of our economy as it was in primitive times, when our ancestors were hunters and gatherers. In those days, in primitive times, when our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, the only value that was created in the economy that we had was labor. It was all labor. And then, in those days, when somebody became rich, they became rich by exploiting the capital of others. In fact, that's what Marx talked about. Marx's concept of the economy was that the only value in an economy is work. And if you become wealthy in an economy, you have become wealthy as a result of exploiting the labor of others. So Marx agreed with this description of our middle, I want to say medieval, but it was way before medieval times, when our ancestors were hunters and gatherers. That's not the American economy today. The American economy today is the greatest economy in all of human history because it's a marriage of capital and labor. And capital and labor are not antagonistic. They work together. Now, it's not without friction. I understand that. But that's why we have become the greatest economy in all of human history. And when capital joins labor, and the two contribute and play their own role, we are able to all work and save and invest and fund the research and development and do the innovative things that have given all of us the greatest quality of life in all of human history. So capital's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And there's been a lot of talk around here about billionaires. Bad billionaires. They're not paying their fair share. I've never completely understood how you determine what the fair share is of somebody. Well, let me put it another way. I don't understand what the fair share is of what somebody else has worked for. I don't know what my fair share is of what the president, Madam President, what she's worked for. It's yours. You worked for it. But that aside, this talk about the bad billionaires and they don't pay their fair share and they're hurting our economy and they only got rich based on exploiting other people's labor, I think shows a gross misunderstanding of the complexity of the United States economy and a gross misunderstanding of free enterprise. And I hope we don't lose sight of that as we go about the process of making changes to our tax code. Let me say it again. If we make changes to our tax code, let's don't make them on the basis of class warfare. Let's make them on the basis of sound economic principles. So, congratulations to Robert Travis Scott and Parr. Robert, I hope you have a wonderful retirement. Don't be moving back to South Carolina or Baltimore or other places. Stay in Louisiana. And Mike, I miss you. Mike Hensey, I miss you. You know, I've heard it said before that, I didn't say this now, I'm just repeating it, that most senators believe in God and the rest of them think they are God. Mike Hensey was in the former category. Just a great man. Smart, good fisherman. But most of all, he was decent. Madam President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.